Picture this. The year is 1796. Emperor Qianlong is 85 years old. Technically, he's retired, having abdicated in favor of his son Jiaqing. But let's be real, the empire is still his playground. He's the Taishang Huang, the retired emperor, and his word is law. So when he suddenly announces a new concubine draft, the official harem audition for fresh palace women, jaws dropped all across Beijing. 85 years old, already with hundreds of women from decades of reign, and he still wants more? Scandalous. Or so it seemed. Was this about lust? Please. By 85, even a son of heaven has limits. This wasn't a late-life Tinder binge. This was politics. The truth? It was pure politics. The Qing dynasty relied on the 8 banners, those powerful Manchu families who were the dynasty's backbone. Every time a banner daughter was selected into the harem, her entire clan got bragging rights, access, and imperial favor. By holding a draft so late in his life, Qianlong was sending a message: your daughters are in my palace, your future is tied to mine. Don't even think about betraying me. But here's the scandal: money. The court was already bleeding silver. The White Lotus Rebellion was draining the treasury, foreign trade imbalances were gutting China's reserves, and peasants were starving. Officials begged for reforms. And what did the 85-year-old emperor do? He staged a concubine selection that meant more stipends, more servants, more expenses. Even worse, the selection doubled as a performance of imperial virility, a political message that the dynasty was still strong because the emperor was still vigorous. Never mind that he was an octogenarian patching together the empire with silk and shadows. And let's not forget, Qianlong may have retired, but Jiaqing, his son, was more like an assistant emperor, powerless in the shadow of his father. Everyone knew the old man still held the reins. If you wanted your clan's fortune secure, you didn't curry favor with Jiaqing. You impressed Qianlong. Of course, the whole thing raised eyebrows. The dynasty was broke, corruption was rampant, and here was Grandpa Emperor staging a concubine pageant. Even worse, it looked indecorous. An old man flexing imperial virility while his empire bled silver into the coffers of the British East India Company. But it worked, at least politically. By pulling new women from powerful banner families, he re-cemented their loyalty, smoothed over factional rivalries, and reminded everyone who the real power broker was. The irony? Most historians think Qianlong had little personal use for these women at that age. They were symbolic wives, political pawns, and props in a grand imperial performance. Because in Qing politics, even your harem was statecraft. So yes, 85 years old, still auditioning concubines. Not because Qianlong needed romance, but because he needed loyalty. And the real gag? He died just 3 years later in 1799, leaving Jiaqing to finally rule on his own, without the shadow of the old man or his endless drafts. And those fresh-faced concubines? They didn't step into glamour. They were stuck as imperial widows, barred from remarriage, basically widows of an emperor who barely looked at them, fated to spend decades in quiet seclusion, chained to the memory of a husband who was already gone.